Really interested and excited to talk about this very important topic, cybersecurity, cyber insurance, and having a plan.
Yes, this is a very vital topic that is just going to grow and grow in the next several years. So thank you for having me on.
Yeah, you bet. This is one of the kind of unfortunate parts of my job is occasionally we hear from practices and sometimes smaller DSOs and others who are either having a cyber event or have just had one. And as the market leader, having nearly 70,000 offices using our software, we do hear about this from time to time, and it's just not a good day for those experiencing it. And imagine for a minute if you're a practitioner, a clinician, and suddenly you can't see patient records. Suddenly all of your electronic systems are either encrypted or in a state where you cannot get to them. And so what this is going to mean is it's going to mean your operation stops. And so there's a challenging financial aspect of this. And then there's also kind of the potential for HIPAA fines and regulatory problems if patient data and patient financial data was leaked somewhere or put up for ransom or exposed on the open internet. That's a problem. And then there's kind of a reputational thing here too. Oh my gosh, I used to go to this DSO or I used to go to this practice and man, they got hacked. And my next door neighbor, well, they had her financial information and before she knew it, her credit's gone. And I mean, there's a whole lot of different ways to think about this. And I don't think any of them are very positive. That's at least what I see. I don't know. Have you seen this, Carrie? I'm assuming you probably have.
Oh yes, absolutely. So I am an insurance agent for that only does dental offices, and I've done this for 21 years. And that was my undergrad is in risk management insurance. So cyber started out in 2010, 2012, being a small little insurance policy. We saw some people get small little ransoms for $1,000 or $5,000 for dental practices. It happened maybe every 6 months. And now, I mean, I have 12,000 clients nationally, and I would say that we see losses and incidents on a weekly basis now. And it really is becoming a type of insurance that you need to have in place as you protect your malpractice, as you protect your office. Your cyber insurance is a must-have. Along with having just a very robust IT company and having all the technology in place and the HIPAA training in place beforehand to try and prevent anything from happening. So, cyber insurance is a last resort. You don't want to have to tap into that policy, but you want to have a really good policy in place if you do have to tap into it.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's a couple aspects of this that I don't think most dentists or people that work in dentist offices or people that work administratively in a DSO maybe think about. The hacker of today, the person or persons that do these kinds of things, it's not what people think. They're not, a teenage kid in their basement with the hoodie and the punk music playing. That's not really what's happening anymore. Maybe there are people like that, but this is an industrialized corporate thing. And it's primarily in countries in Asia and Eastern Europe. And these are people that go to work 9 to 5 every day. They're people that have HR at their company and marketing, and it's like a job. And they have lists of people that are targets, and they have tools and AI agents out there running all the time to find new targets. And it's a very, very efficient and very corporatized practice. And it's designed to shake down anyone they can compromise. And the ultimate goal is to make money. That is their goal. And our job as service providers of aggregators and providers of software and systems of record is to keep our systems as secure and as bulletproof as we humanly and possibly can. And then I just don't think that there's the awareness that there really needs to be out there until it happens to you or until it happens to someone and then it's kind of too late. And what's the saying, Carrie? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Yes.
I think about this kind of in two frames. The first frame, obviously, I'm the company officer for a software company, and so we have to have cyber insurance, and it's extremely expensive. and the process we go through to get it is very long and takes quite a bit of effort. Thankfully, we have things like SOC 2 Type 2 and other kind of regulatory standards that we already meet that make that much, much easier for us now that we have those. And so I think about it that way, and the rigor and the processes we go through to get that. That's the first lens, and we won't say much about that. The second lens is providing software for 70,000 offices all over the world that have to get cyber insurance for themselves. And so we're very excited and proud that our software meets those standards. We've put a lot of effort and time into that. Ascend, our web PMS here in North America, we were the very first to have SOC 2 Type 2, and we used that as a marketing tactic, not just because we wanted to market it, because we were super proud of how secure our software was. And I'm really happy and gratified to see that the industry has embraced that. Our competitors, although smaller, most of them have reached that standard themselves. So the industry is, at least for the web PMSs, is going that direction. And for our on-premise systems, things like Dentrix Enterprise, Dental Vision, PDS Endo, a whole myriad of other tools and services that we offer, they meet those standards as well. And so everything that we do here as we build software has security baked into it, from the requirement all the way to how it's deployed and operated. The security is thought about. And when we find people that are violating that security, unapproved third parties and others, we very aggressively work to turn them off and to work with those vendors to come through the front door rather than the back window. And we're right in the middle of some of that, but we're very proud of us protecting our customers who are dentists and their patients. It's something we put a lot of thought into. And there's some simple ways to think about this, Carrie. There's, if you're not thinking about this now, start thinking about it. If you're a small dental operation with one office or two or three offices, you're not immune. These hackers, they go for the path of least resistance. If they show up and they're looking at your practice and they find tools in place, things like MDR and EDR solutions, things like firewalls on your little corporate network or your medium-sized corporate network, they're going to go on to the next thing. It's not helpful to them. They can't get in easily, so they're going to go right on to the next target. And, we don't want anyone to be targeted, but as you get cyber insurance, you're forced to have those controls in place. You can't get it unless you have them. And so that's really one way to start. So when people approach you, Carrie, about cyber insurance, have they typically had an event recently, or are they concerned about the event? Maybe we could talk for a minute about that.
Yeah, no, so we definitely get it both ways. We definitely have people come to us after it's too late trying to get cyber insurance. And we can get cyber insurance for them for future events, but we can't obviously cover. Insurance is not meant to cover events that already happened. So if they come to us after having an event, then we really have to scrutinize what new systems they've put in place, what new technology, look at the forensic investigation and the incident response. How far deep did they go in? How did we get them out? Are they 100% out? I know that you know this, but a lot of times when offices are targeted, if they pay the ransom and it is encrypted, they are more likely to be targeted again. So we have to make sure that from a risk standpoint, if you want to come and get the insurance after you've had an incident, that you really have mitigated that risk so that you are not susceptible to having a loss again.
Yeah, or go ahead. Sorry. I was just going to say that's an extremely important point. One of the questions that we get asked all the time is, hey, we've been compromised. Should we pay the ransom? And the way I would respond to that is you need to work with an incident response company to advise you on what you should and shouldn't do. But an important thing to remember is most of these parties that compromise you, there's this thing out there that, there's ethics among thieves. No, there's not. Most people, once they're compromised and they pay the ransom, they're right back there paying another one. If they're going to get you once, they'll get you twice.
Oh yeah, or they'll be in the middle of, like, they'll give you the key to decrypt your information, and then in the middle of it, they'll ask for more money and they'll freeze it again. I mean, they know how this works. So there is no honor among thieves. But it's a business continuity, whether you pay it or not. And that's why you get the incident response professionals and the legal involved in that. And you should have a strong cyber insurance carrier partner that has an in-house legal and an in-house incident response team. that understands what they're doing, and they're not, not just I don't want to say property casualty, but not just a property casualty insurance that's dabbling in cyber and think it's a trend. You want to have a carrier that really understands cyber, and this is their bread and butter, and this is what they do, and they respond to these incidents all day long, because you have a better chance of a quicker recovery.
That's right. Another aspect of this, excuse me, that I was going to mention a minute ago, but failed to, is as you're building out your tech stack in your office, you have your practice management software, but there's lots of third-party things that integrate with the practice management software and other tools that you use to operate your business. You should do some homework and find out and make sure those software vendors have cyber insurance. Many don't, and it's not just dentist offices that can get compromised. It's software companies that hold patient data and patient payment data and revenue cycle management data, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so as part of your due diligence on these companies, make sure they have cyber insurance. You should directly ask them, do you have cyber insurance? If they do, they'll stand up and say, yeah, of course, here's what our policy looks like. It's covered up to this much. If they say, oh, we've looked into that, we thought we'd get it one day, you're dealing with a garage software company that, I'm all for innovations and startups and quick stuff, but like when we're handling money and patient records, you can't have garage software. So that's a key question for our friends that work in this industry to ask. Have you encountered this? Have you seen this yourself?
Oh yeah, absolutely. At the practice level, you should have a comprehensive cyber insurance policy, not just a data breach policy, but a comprehensive policy. It should cover business income for if you are compromised, but it should cover contingent business income for any of the vendors you're using if they were to compromise your information. So we've had it where it has been cloud-based software companies. We've had it, I had one a few weeks ago that was a lab that was hacked, that it trickled down. And then obviously the big one was the Change Healthcare that we all saw.
Oh, yeah.
That prevented a lot of offices from being paid. It really hurt some really large organizations that had to float a month or 2 months of claims, and so it just really I had a lot of claims from that, just for the business contingent and business income contingent, just because the practice of dentistry is such a service-based loss, right? You can see those patients next week, but then that's a week's worth of patients that new patients you're not going to see, and that time is gone. So the time element to it is drastic. So you absolutely want to make sure that your vendors have a cyber policy. You want to make sure that they have that's in your business arrangement agreement, your BAA. You need to make sure that you put in the BAA, that they have to be HIPAA compliant, that they have to have a cyber policy, and they need to name you as additional insured on the policy.
Well, I think you're bringing up some really interesting points that aren't really thought about. I mean, people think, oh, I've got a PMS, I've got a patient communication tool, we're good, right? Well, hopefully, but you want to make absolutely sure that you are, and those are all steps that we need to go through to do that.